Welcome to DrivenMavens.com. My name is Arvin, and special edition sketch here is going to be the 2014 Corvette Stingray C7 sketch. So let's get going. This is going to be a extremely quickly time-lapsed video that I'm putting here. This sketch actually took me about 45 minutes, a lot longer than I expected, but boy oh boy, I gotta tell you, this was one car I just enjoyed exploring and trying to understand the details and what GM put together on this one. And this car is absolutely sweet. It is a stunner. Now, I haven't been to the auto show. I was hoping to actually go during the press week and check it out, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do that as I had come down with the flu, so that really stinks to high heaven. So anyway, we're going to continue on. I think one of the coolest aspects of this car is there's been a lot of criticism actually at the beginning with people really not liking the tail lamps. That's probably one of the main things that people were really drawn to, was the square tail lamps. Now, I've heard it so many times, and to be honest, when I first saw it, that's probably one of the main things that I thought about, in addition to seeing certain elements of the Nissan GTR styling on this car, as well as some other influences. There's certain things that I felt that I really didn't like, and this is all when some of those pre-press photos were leaked out for people to check them out, and they're kind of going all over the blogosphere, whether it was on Autoblog or if it was on Jalopnik. All these sites seem to be throwing these photographs or these quick pictures around. But once those photographs, or once the official press release came out and I saw pictures of it in the auto show, I tell you what, it is phenomenal. One of the main things that really can define what the Corvette stands for is looking at that profile, making sure that the proportions have been honored and that it has the typical sports car or the Corvette stance. And I think that they've done a really wonderful job here on that account. Now, most of the design is very angular. I think they've made a pretty large or significant departure from what they had done before, way back from the C6. And ironically, when the C6 came out, I remember many people were pretty much disappointed because there wasn't that much of a change. They looked at the C5 and they know that one of the biggest departures that they had were the flip-up headlamps, right? And most of the Corvettes had flip-up headlamps, and then when the C5 came out, or the C6 came out, that was all gone, and there was a big uproar on that. Well, most people got over it because, you know what? The car's performance was fantastic, and this is not going to be any different. Though I think that traditionally having the round tail lamps is a signature design key element of the Corvette, maybe it's they've taken some risks. I'm going to have to say that I'm not sure if it's the right risk. I'd have to say that I really admire GM for doing what they've done and taking a chance on it. But I think at the end of the day, when people get into that car, experience the Corvette, experience that new interior, the refresh and the quality of the materials, the ride and the comfort, all the other amenities, having the 7 shifter, 450 horsepower, I think people are going to be in for a pleasant surprise. Now, I wish I could get into one of these cars and take it for a couple laps on the track, but that's never going to happen. But I will say that looking at the specs, I have to say that it's been pretty impressive from what I've been reading so far. My plan is to probably check out the Corvette probably on Monday when I head down over to the auto show. It's definitely going to be the first one that I'm going to check out and take a bunch of pictures before the crowd starts to settle in, and probably post some more drawings after I take some of my reference photographs and start to analyze the design myself. Now, one of the other things that I think is really important to consider is that anytime you're looking at any of these sports cars, to make sure that they've maintained a certain aggressive stance. And one of what I've understood from the specs, what they've done is that they've increased the wheelbase. They've also widened the stance a little bit, so the width of the entire vehicle has slightly changed. So what this really does is to really help give it that aggressive styling and also the stability for the vehicle in general. Anytime you widen the stance of a vehicle, that's going to add a lot more of a stabilizing effect for the entire weight of the vehicle. I think what's really important to highlight about the Corvette is that, well, maybe just scooting back a little bit, a lot of cars in general, whether you're looking at sedans or some of the lower end sports cars, seem to have what I call cosmetic design elements. And what I mean by cosmetic design elements are design elements that don't really have any functional purpose for the vehicle. They don't really serve any purpose except to be more of a decorative element for the vehicle that you just add to it. Now for the Corvette, they've kind of steered away from that. Something similar to also the new Viper. The Viper also has a lot of functional exterior elements that actually help the performance of the vehicle. Now for the Corvette, as the air enters the radiator, all that air is actually pushed out right in the front of that hood. Now I haven't even drawn that part of it. When I get to that part, you'll see that there's going to be some vents, and that hot air that's coming right out of the radiator shoots right out to the front of the hood and right over the car, which actually probably creates a little bit of a downforce feature for the car that further provides some more stability. The other sweet part of it is right here on the side of the car. We see another design element. We've got some vents that are just rearward of that front tire, and those vents also act to be able to take the hot air that's coming from probably, I would say, the brakes. And that's something that I'd also noticed as a design element from one of the L88s. The L88s had these 3 louvers, and those 3 louvers were there also to help dissipate the heat generated from the brakes and to have that exit right out of those vents. So that's a really nice tie-in if that's what they intended to do. And this is what these designers and engineers really get paid for. I mean, they have a passion for this vehicle, they have a passion for this brand, and a passion for the history. Is their challenge is to be able to understand, how do we design a vehicle that is now revolutionary, something that is going to pay a respectful tribute to the history of the Corvette, but yet find a way to be able to tie in some of those design elements from some of the previous generations and be able to integrate it into this particular vehicle, and to do it well, and to do it in such a way that you're going to be really proud to be able to own it. Now, like I said, there's a little bit too much concentration now, I think, when it comes to those rear tail lamps. I still prefer that they should have found a way to have integrated the rear tail lamps, but I'm sure that once I get into one of these things, and if I ever took it for a spin and I could afford it, I really won't care, because most of the time I'm going to be in the vehicle. I'm going to appreciate the craftsmanship, appreciate the comfort, appreciate the technology, and appreciate the handling and the engineering that went into making this vehicle overall. Just remember that everything is just not about the aesthetic. Anytime you're designing anything, whether it's a consumer product or a vehicle or an interior, it's about the experience. What kind of experience are you introducing to your customer? And that experience transcends not only exterior, but it also transcends to the interior and how you interact with the vehicle, ergonomics, comfort of the seat. Everything has to work in harmony, and they have to work together. That's why it's really important that engineering and design, they always get together at a very early stage to work some of these issues out, identify where they need to make the compromises, and make some of those major decisions, and make those major decisions up front, so that they're going to have a real winner. And I think that's what they did here. I think this is something they can really be proud about. So Anyway, hopefully you've been enjoying this sketch. I know I've been really talking about the car. I haven't really been giving you any detailed information on how this tutorial was created, but nonetheless, hopefully it was kind of entertaining and it was a little bit informative. I'll just talk a few seconds about it. One of the main things you do want to do when you start to draw is you notice how I quickly laid down a lot of the lines, and I did use ellipse templates. That's all fair game. You know, I start off with drawing my ellipses in really lightly with just freehand, but then as the sketch progresses and I want to make sure that, you know, I've got the ellipses in check and I've got the right perspective, that I am going to be using those ellipses as well, especially when I start to tighten up the wheels and add some spokes and that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with using it. I do get some questions asked, is it fair to use tools? And by all means, use tools, but remember, you kind of have to go back and forth. Use the tools so you understand how to place those ellipses and what they look like in reference to its position in space. But then go back to using freehand and practice more. Hope you enjoyed this, guys, and we'll see you next time on JaMavens.com. Have a good one.